Piaget considers childhood as a prediction of later performance and functioning. In fact, through his theory of cognitive development, each stage represents different scenarios. In his words, if the child partly explains the adult, it can also be said that each period of development partly explains the periods that follow. In this way, childhood behavior carries strong symbolic characteristics, including those behaviors during play and rest, during feeding, and within any interpersonal activity. The psychological thinker must view children with the same perspective they use for adults, but with lesser judgment and consequence. Furthermore, Piaget suggests that because childhood behavior is symbolic, it's especially important to notice those subtle characteristics of individual children, since they will likely carry those characteristics unto adulthood. Now, this idea shares resemblance to Freud's idea of fixation, but Piaget presents it through a behavioralist lens. In many ways, Piaget touches on what we now consider to be reinforced behavior, which he called a reflex scheme, in that reinforced behaviors become instinctual responses that follow into adulthood. It's important to both guide and shape behavior during childhood, as to produce more cognizant adults. The symbolic nature of childhood helps simplify adult preoccupation. By reducing adult matter to the playroom of the child, we may better contextualize human behavior as it occurs across the continuum, rather than attributing spontaneity to personality and character as it pertains to individual productivity. But if childhood is measured by symbolic content, how is adulthood measured? Piaget presents a fascinating concept with this definition of adulthood. Rather than viewing adulthood as a final goal of development, or as the peak of human potentiality from which stems our childhood matters, Piaget simply considers adulthood a position of functionality. His definition suggests that adulthood brings a level of equilibrium that children do not possess. In other words, adult equilibrium allows the individual to use their logic and reason as tools to navigate through worldly mechanisms. Our careers, relationships, moral judgments, and political perspectives, as some examples, all require a level of reasonable thinking power. Children, although plastic and adaptive by nature, rarely apply necessary levels of reason towards things that are bigger than their own existence. Furthermore, with this definition, Piaget brings humility to adulthood. Rather than viewing the adult as a superior, ultimate entity, he views the adult simply as a functioning organism within a moving world. The adult is able to apply necessary levels of reason and logic that are unavailable during childhood. The theory of cognitive development explores the processes by which reason and logic appear in the individual.